My name is Mike Friesen, and I'm going to teach you how to play Space Junk, the very first game by LampLightGames. So, Space Junk is a really easy game to learn. There's only three basic things that the whole game revolves around. There is move, attack, and search. Everything in the game revolves around those three stats. In fact, there's three ways to score points: move, attack, and search. And there's three things that you do in the game. There's three phases. There's a movement phase, an attack phase, and a search phase. The way you score points in those things is every time you make a lap during your movement phase, you score 5 points. Also, every time you successfully hit another player with your attack, you get 3 points for each hit. Also, at the end of the game, every piece of junk that you've got saved up either in your cargo bay or anywhere else in your ship, you're going to score the points for that card as a value that you're turning it in and recycling it. The junk cards. Each junk card has 3 stats: the title, a bit of flavor text, which is always fun, and a value on the bottom. And that's the value that it's going to be if you turn it in at the end of the game. It's going to give you extra points. Because in Space Junk, you're trying to be the most famous. And all of these things that you're doing are going to get you fame points. So, for instance, this card here is a disposable camera. All of these components are prototype components, and you can take a look at the graphic design that we have going on for the final stuff. As the Kickstarter campaign goes on, we're going to be adding more and more stuff. But I'll let you know that Jamie Kagi, he is from the Secret Cabal Gaming Podcast, is a graphic designer by trade, and he's going to be doing the graphic design for this game. And what he's done so far looks fantastic. He says he's not completely happy with it yet, and he's still working on it, which is awesome. The artwork for the game, the final artwork, is being done by John Ariosa, who did the art for Mice and Mystics, also did art on Summoner Wars, and a few other games, and just does brilliant artwork. So we're really happy to be working with him. So a disposable camera has a move of 0, an attack of 1, and a search of 1. Now what that means is, depending on where you have that card in your ship, it's going to affect one or more of those stats. Now, this is your ship. Each person is going to have a player board, and the player boards are made out of nice thick cardboard for the final game, and the graphic design is going to be really pretty and all cool. But the basic things on the ship are going to be the same. So, you have a fuselage, and what that fuselage is you're going to use something to base your ship off of. I don't care what it is. There's no rules telling you that you have to use some big crazy thing as your fuselage. I could use a disposable camera as my fuselage. Might not be overly comfortable, but what that means is if I have something there as my fuselage, I get to use the value of all 3 of the stats. So I would get to add 1 to my total attack and 1 to my total search. Now, as you can see, there's also a move, an attack, and a search slot on the player board, as well as a spot for your character card and a cargo bay. The cargo bay is where you store any extra junk cards that you either don't want to have on your ship or that you couldn't put on your ship at the time. Anything in the cargo bay and the fuselage are completely immune from attack. They can't be destroyed or damaged in any way. Now, if you put a card in one of the 2 slots in your movement area, it's going to affect your movement according to that card's stat. Now this card has a movement stat of 0, so if I were to put it in my movement slot, it wouldn't do me any good. But it's got an attack of 1 and a search of 1. So if I were to put it in my attack slot, it would bump up my attack total by 1. If I put it in my search, it would bump up my search total by 1. Now, on the player boards, there's these numbers here, and you're going to have these cubes so that you can track your numbers, your stats, so it's easier to reference as you go on. Each player is going to get a character at the beginning of the game. They're going to be either chosen randomly, or you can pick a character that you want. So I'm going to take Mr. Smith, I'm going to add him to my character board, and each character also has the 3 basic stats. They're going to have a move stat, an attack stat, and a search stat. Now, each character is not going to be the same. They're all going to have different strengths and weaknesses. They're all going to be just as powerful as one another, but in a different way. So Mr. Smith is a secret agent, and he's got a base move of 3, an attack of 4, and a search of 3. So, at the beginning of the game, all you're going to start with is your character card and your player board. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your 3 cubes of your color, and you're going to add them to your player board. So I'm going to put my cube for move on 3, my cube for attack on 4, and my cube for search on 3. And as the game goes on and you start building your ship and changing it, you can move those cubes to keep as a quick reference. Also, as I mentioned before, if I put something in my fuselage spot, I would be adding the number for that in all 3 of the stats. And anything in your cargo bay doesn't add to your stats, it's just there for safekeeping. Now, there's 3 ways to score points. There's the 3 basic stats in the game, and there's 3 phases to the game. The 3 phases, again, move, attack, search. During the movement phase, you simply are going to pick a ring. So there's 3 rings. There's an inner, a middle, and an outer ring. And what those 3 rings represent is the speed that you're going. Not that it's actually physically further out or closer in. It's representing how fast you choose to be going on that turn. When you decide how fast you want to be going, I'm the purple color, so I'm going to take my purple movement thing. And at the beginning of the game, you start right on the start line. I choose before my movement which ring I want to go into. I can't hop in and out of rings throughout my movement. I have to dedicate to one before I start my movement. So there's a little bit of strategy there, because you'll notice that in the center ring here, it's got a 2, in the middle ring there's a 4, and the outer ring there's an 8. What that means is that is the maximum number of junk cards you can pick up during the search phase if you're in that ring. So the center ring here only has 4 spaces, so you're going to be able to make laps really quick. But if your search value is higher than 2, you're still only going to be able to pick up a maximum of 2 cards during your search phase. So I got to choose wisely. Do I want to go fast, get more laps and make points that way, or do I want to go out further and slow down a little bit and get some points by picking up some cool pieces of junk? It's up to you. You can also get points by attacking. For the move phase, you're simply going to pick the ring that you want to go into and then move your move. I've got a move of 3, and I've got no junk cards to add to that, and I have no fuselage yet because it's the first turn. If it was, let's say, the second turn, and I've got my disposable camera and an S-cargo in my ship, the S-cargo is adding 1 to my movement. The disposable camera doesn't add any because it's got a 0 in the movement. But if I've got this, it's a total move of 4, and I've got a search of 3. So if I stay in the center ring and I do my 4, I'm going to make a lap and get 5 points. But I'm only going to be able to pick up 2 cards out of the 3 possible cards that I could pick up. So for this turn, I think I'm going to move to the middle ring, and then I'm going to move my 3 spaces. So simply 1, 2, 3 spaces. Now, you can see I landed in the same space as green. If you land in the same space as another player, you have the option to ram them. Well, why wouldn't you ram them? It's optional, you don't have to. What happens when you ram somebody is that you both roll a dice, and the person who's initiating the ram, so it's the person whose movement turn it is going to get a +1 to their dice roll. You simply roll the dice. So I got a 1, my opponent got a 6. Whoever has the highest number is going to be successful with the ram. So my opponent was actually higher than I am. So they're going to actually get to pick one of the pieces of junk off my ship and put it on their own ship. It's a ram. You know, they managed to crash into me, pull a piece off my ship, and steal off. I was aiming for them, but they managed to veer out of the way at the last second and elude me. That's a ram. It's pretty straightforward. So everybody does their move like that by picking the speed that they want to go, moving their move speed. Simple as that. Every time you make a lap during your movement phase, you're going to get 5 points. The second phase is an attack phase. Now, starting with the first player, everything starts with the first player. And that goes around every round. It starts with the next player. So I'm the first player. I'm going to get to choose somebody to attack. Now let's just say that Kit Vicious here, my opponent, has got these different things. They've got a kangaroo as their fuselage, so they're riding a kangaroo, and they've got some elvish rope, which they're putting in their search area to try to, rope some stuff in. So I'm going to say that I'm going to attack orange. Now let's say orange is sitting right here. I'm purple, so what I do is I look at my attack added between the fuselage, my character, and anything that's in the attack row. I've got nothing in my attack row, but my fuselage, the disposable camera, is going to give me attack bonus of 1, plus my base of 4 that my character gives me. I've got a total attack of 5. Now, I'm going to say I attack purple, and I roll a dice. I got a 5, so I add that to my attack. So 5 plus 5 is 10, but I have to minus 1 for each space between me and the opponent I'm trying to get to. So there's only one space to get to the next person. When you're checking for range, you don't move diagonally, you just move the full spaces. So I have to minus 1 because of the range. So that's going to give me a total of 9. Now the way it works is for each successful 5, or each increment of 5, you're going to score a hit. So because I got 9, it's only going to be good for 1 hit. If I would have rolled a 6 and had an 11, minus the 1 for range, it would have been 10. And that would have given me 2 hits, because 5 and 5 is 10. If I would have got 15, that's 3 hits. 20 is going to be 4 hits, and so on and so forth. For each hit that's successful, you're going to automatically get 3 points. So I would be getting 3 points. I move that up on the score track, and then for each hit, I take a dice and I roll it. Now, each part of your ship, these 6 areas here, are all numbered 1 through 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to take a dice and roll it. Whatever number that shows is where I hit on the other person's ship. So, it's got a number 5 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I actually hit their Elvish rope. Coincidentally? I don't know. So, what's going to happen is they have to turn their Elvish rope to the side, essentially tap it, which represents that during the search phase, they're going to have to throw that out. It's going to be broken. But for now, everybody gets to keep the stuff on their ship until everybody's had a chance to attack. Otherwise, it would be unfair. Moving on to the next player, they're going to get a chance to choose and attack somebody until everybody's had their turn. After the attack phase, we move on to the search phase. During the search phase, you simply look at your search and you get that many cards, starting with the first player and moving around. But if you have a higher search than the limit of the ring that you're in, you're going to get the lower of the 2. I've got a base search of 3, and I'm in the middle ring, which has a maximum of 4, so I'm good. I'm going to get 3 cards. I get to draw 3 cards off the top of the stack, and then I have the opportunity to arrange my ship however I'd like. I can take things off my ship, move them to my cargo bay, take things out of my cargo bay, put them onto my ship. I can switch up the fuselage. Anything that's damaged gets taken and thrown into this beautiful space cooler here, and that's going to be junk for the rest of the game. After I've arranged everything however I want it, that's when we do our little cameo. And this is the really fun part of this game, is listening to all the crazy stories of what other people can come up with. You try to stay in character and make up this crazy story about what's going on in your ship, because, let's face it, it's reality TV. We're just trying to entertain the masses. So, my character's Mr. Smith. I'm going to do my best to try to represent here what a cameo would be like if I was doing one for myself. So I'm just going to arrange this here a little bit. Hi, I'm Mr. Smith. That's all I can say about myself. I found this beanstalk floating out in space, and it intrigued me, so I've jumped on board and strapped a couple of things to it. I've got some escargot smeared on the side, just in case somebody's trying to attack me. It's just going to slip off of them, and it also gives me a little bit more speed. I've got a lunar lander that I found somewhere, which I've bolted on the side as well. To get it on there, I used a ball-peen camera, and also, I'm taking pictures of anything suspicious with my disposable camera. So that's how it goes. Everybody gets a chance to do a little cameo. You're all going to laugh about it. There's going to be some wisecracks. And after the search phase, and everything's reset like that, it's done. That's the end of the phase. You go back to the movement phase. You move the first player token, and they're going to be the first person to move. You do those 3 phases 6 times, so there's... Wow, that's bad. So there's 6 total phases, or 6 total rounds to the game of 3 phases each, and then it's over. The game with 6 people, it takes about an hour if everybody knows what they're doing, and the game's moving fast. At most, if you're trying to teach some new players, it's going to take about an hour and a half. We played it at Gen Con at the playtest hall, and it took every round with me explaining it. It took anywhere between an hour and 20 minutes and about an hour and 40 minutes was the game for the full 6 rounds. At the end of those 6 rounds, you add up everybody's score. So all the points that you got for your making laps and attacking other players, as well as any pieces of junk that you've got stashed in your cargo bay or built on your ship, you're going to be able to take those, the numbers in the bottom corner, that value, you're just going to add that directly to your score. At the end of that, whoever's got the most fame, the highest fame score, is going to be the winner and the most glorious of the game. Folks, that's Space Junk. I hope you can see how fun this game is just by watching the videos, and I hope you can jump on board and support us. I know it's our first game, and it's hard to trust a new company because you don't know if they're going to be able to deliver. You don't know if the game's any good because you haven't played it yourself, and there's a lot of just different variables. I hope this gives you a good enough view of what the game's like and how it moves. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you some video clips of us playing the game. I'm going to show you the 3 different phases and just chunks out of each of the 3 phases with a bunch of people playing. And I'm going to leave you with that. I thank you so much for your support, and any donation that you're, not donation, but any backers, I thank you so much for your support, and I truly hope that we can deliver everything on time, and I hope that we can unlock some awesome stretch goals and continue on. We've already got another game or 2 in the works that we've been playtesting for a couple of years. Leaf, the chief game designer here, has got a couple of games that he's worked on for a couple of years. The next game that we're going to release is actually a moderately heavy Euro, which we're really excited about. But for now, guys, thanks a lot. Have a great day. Have a great evening. Whatever time zone you're in, just be great.